I think we're live. I think we're live, Dr. Touchstone, Commissioner Touchstone. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. I want to thank you for having me on your show today. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. No, and thank you for coming because as you all had know, I had the school board member was supposed to come on today. I had been talking to him back and forth and he was supposed to come on. However, they've been in meetings all day talking about all different types of stuff. I heard some of the meetings. I wasn't able to do all of them because I
Hmm.
do have a day job. So I was able to hear some of it, but I heard that that they're gonna have what they call it metal detectors in some of the schools, and I know they're talking about school closures. So there was like a
Right.
lot of different issues that was being raised, and so he's supposed to come on tomorrow. So hopefully he's recovered from all of the activities today. We'll
Yes.
be able to do that show tomorrow. So I truly appreciate you being able to come on to make sure we can continue our regularly scheduled program and
Absolutely.
have
Absolutely.
this
It's always
conversation with me.
something to talk about. Always something to talk about in the political climate.
Always, always. All right. So y'all know me, the host of Racing the Racist, Santa Chef Frere. That's my doc. She's from my adopted city of West Park, Dr. Katrina Touchstone. I'm gonna let her introduce herself to y'all like really quickly. And then we're
Yes.
gonna start talking about there were elections yesterday in some of the cities. We're gonna talk about that. We'll talk some school board stuff, but more importantly, she's gonna talk to you about the things that she's been doing in West Park, what she hopes to see for the city of West Park, and shout out some of the people that are running for some seats
Yes.
in West Park,
Yes.
right? Because
Yes.
you need a commission with a majority that's on the same accord to make sure they're there to do the people's work.
Correct. Correct. So, absolutely. Good night, everyone. I am Dr. Katrina Touchstone, Commissioner for the City of West Park, newly elected in November of 2022, community advocate prior to that for 7 years. I've been on Racing in the Races before. It's always a pleasure to have candid conversation and dialogue with someone that is really down to earth and understand the issues at their core. Such an educated lady with Sandra, and it's always a pleasure being on here. So, I'm here doing the community work in the city of West Park. My slogan is to always put the community first. And so it's always my objective to look out for the community best interests. So recently at the beginning of the year, I know I was on here talking about the explosion that happened in West Park back in December before the new year. And I was talking about my upcoming series on my town hall meetings and so forth. And that's just been great hearing directly from the residents and hearing their concerns and hearing their shared concerns that you are actually advocating on their behalf. So it's refreshing to get feedback from the residents and hear from them directly as far as how they would like the trajectory of the city to go. So I can't hear you for some
Yeah,
reason.
no, because I was muted. You would
Oh,
think
okay.
after 4 years of this whole Zoom life that people would know to not to check if they're muted before they start talking. So there was some things, you were here a year ago because when I was
Mhm.
checking, trying to, do the poster for today, I was like, oh, she was here like March 15 last year, but you were
Yes,
here after the explosion. So can you give us an update on what's going on with that family? Because
yes.
people want to know were they able to get some
Hmm.
assistance? Give us an update on them, and then let's go on and we'll talk more about West Park in general.
Well, they were able to get some assistance as far as I was indicating the different initiatives that the city has partnered with the county for SHIP funding to be designated for those people impacted by the blast. So they identified a half-mile radius around the actual exploded home, identified as the potential target area for people to take advantage of those initiatives, right? Since the last time that I spoke to you, I know that spoke to you about the SHIP Fund program and how that worked about the 10-year forgivable loan. And then I also talked to you about family success partnership and so forth. I did get updates on that, and it seems as though a lot of the people who were impacted by the blast did not take full advantage of those two initiatives, right? So what the city did was they also have an in-house initiative that they do with the small home repair program. We've always, not always, but since 2018, we've had this small home repair initiative within our city where residents can qualify up to $3,000 of forgivable loan, where it's forgiven $1,000 a year that they live in the home. So they would have to live in the home 3 years in order for that forgivable loan to be forgiven, right? So they've identified 25 homes within that mile radius that I just indicated that can potentially utilize this towards, small home repairs. I also advocated to ensure that if they wanted to use it for like out of pocket expenses, as far as like if they're going through their insurance and they have a deductible,
Yeah.
that they will be able to do that. I also advocated to make sure that if they do utilize it, the permitting process would be expedited and so forth like that. So I was able to successfully advocate for that. The thing about that is that we have a developer in our community. It's Wilford's company, who's been doing quite a bit of development in our city. And we have a community give back initiative in which they do so into. So what they have done ahead of schedule is they have allocated around $52,000 into that fund to specifically help out those individuals that have been identified that have been significantly impacted by the blast, right? So with 25 residents, and we have currently, I believe it's like $55,000 in that account earmarked for these residents. When you do the math, we're really still like $20,000 short. If everyone was to participate and get the maximum of $3,000 each, that's $75,000 needed to be funded. As I indicated before, when I was here in January, there was a resolution proffered up for each one of the commission to give up $1,000 from their expense account, in which I indicated that I was going to opt out on that. So at the finale of that, 3 of the commissioners allocated $1,000, which brought the fund balance up to $55,000, in addition to what the developer had sold into the funding, right? But like I said, my concern is that we still have a shortfall of about $20,000 ish that we're not sure where that's going to come from. So
I'm not real big on developers. I'm just gonna let you know, right?
Yeah.
Them people in the business of making money. They're not about to do nothing for nobody unless there's some sort of benefit in there for me, right? Like benefit in it for them. That's just my take on it, right? Because again, I just don't see the generosity, humanitarian, whatever. When you're talking about a developer. So
it's definitely not just a charity case, right?
Well, why are they doing that?
They're doing that because in 2018, when we started to get developers to come in after the passage of the TLC land use change, right?
Don't use initials. Tell people what TLC means. Just for
those. TLC is the transit-oriented corridor, where they have designated maybe about, I want to say 300 and something acres of property that are now considered mixed use. So it allows for developers to come in, purchase residential area to have more density and space and provide more uniform business frontage for the perimeter of our city, pretty much. So when they came in, there was quite a bit of property that the city owned. So this developer went into a public-private partnership. So because it's a public-private partnership with the city, they have to give back, right? Because most of the
$50,000 not a lot of money from no developer. That ain't nothing. That's negligible.
Right. I understand and I appreciate your sentiment, and I do share those concerns, right? But keep in mind that this was something that was established prior to my tenure as commissioner. So as a community advocate, I did want a program that basically gave back to the residents to help, the vulnerable population, to help with the upkeep of their property.
And when you don't isn't it when you do like mixed use zoning or whatever, doesn't that increase the value of the properties, but really increase the tax base of the taxes that a person has to pay on their home? It also increased the amount of insurance that someone have to pay on their home, and in some sort of way it essentially might price people out of their home, particularly when you can't try to get a new insurance company because your house may not pass inspection because certain upgrades aren't there and that type of thing.
Correct.
How does it benefit the people that have been living in that city for all them years?
Well, in theory, the former elected officials were of the thought that if they bring developers in and they increase the business, the scope of our business frontage, right? Or bring more businesses into the city, that would help to offset or balance the high property taxes, right?
How?
Um,
Tell me how.
Now, I don't know how, because that has
Oh,
been my question and my contention.
okay.
I've always been on the side of, I was never for the TLC. This is a known publicized thing. I've always advocated against TLC. I thought that it would usher in gentrification. It would increase the cost of homes and so forth. And so the previous elected officials of the mindset that, okay, well, if the value of the home increased, that's good, right? They
No
and
way.
my opinion is no, it's not good, because if I'm not in the market of selling or flipping houses or anything like that, that's not good for me, because then now my insurance is going up, my taxes is going up. Even if I have saved our home on our homes, still the value is going up. So that 3% max is still higher than what it would have been if the
Right.
value, right? So a lot of people and a lot of realtors are of the mindset that, when the market is up, then it's good economy, right? Our property appraiser always comes and gives update and talk about the percentage of new development in our community and the increase in the property values and the taxes that we're receiving for that. So in essence, it's a good move for the city as a business, right? But it's not a good move for the community aspect and the people of the community, in my opinion.
Okay, so all right, some of these words are relative, right? You say it's a good move for the city. What you mean?
I
When
think
like
that
if
what
the
I'm
based
saying
on
is, I said the city as a business.
the city as a business, but if the city as a business is going to end up not looking like the city that it is,
Correct.
how is that a good thing,
Well,
right?
that's what I was saying. It's a double-edged sword, because on paper and in black and white, it looks good for the economics of the city.
So they could do what? What are they? So if it is looking good for the economics, what is the city doing with the economics that's supposed to be good for them? How does that translate, or how does that make it to the residents? Because
Well,
even though
that's
them
where we
people say
have
they
areas
donated
of
money,
opportunity, right?
even though
That's
them
where we have a large area of opportunity in regards to that.
opportunity for who to do what?
For the city to do better as far as what is in it for the residents, the question that you're asking. How does that particular move benefit the residents? And the thing about it is, I told you, I don't see that as a benefit for the residents.
Yeah. Because even so if this developer if it was some benefit, then the developer would have donated $75,000. Because at least because that's what the people needed. You're gonna have them come up short, and then what the rest of them folks
Right.
gonna do?
And there's
Yeah.
there's no transparency as far as how that particular figure was calculated either, right? So there's no transparency or clarity as far as how the city manager and them came up with that particular number. What formulation is used? Is it a percentage of the value of the land that they were given for development,
Less
or
than
what?
1%, I'm sure.
I'm not
I trying to
sure.
start no trouble. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but it's not trouble. It's actually a valid concern, right? And John Lewis always said you have to be ready to get into some good trouble.
Yep.
And I'm always willing to get into good trouble when you're advocating for what you truly believe in, and you're advocating for the benefit of others and who you are to serve. So I'm always down for that. So, okay, the TLC, we went down a rabbit hole with that. So I know that there are still some residents that are displaced. I know at the last report, I think 17 out of those 25 identified properties were put in applications for the $3,000 and so forth. However, we know with the cost of repairs and so forth, that $3,000 is not going to be that significant, tangible impact that the residents are looking for. So I'll profit up some ideas and what I felt like will be some common sense solutions at my last episode with you. And I've challenged them to challenge us to look into those viable options, right? I challenged them to connect with Home Depot, like I was saying. We had put out the challenge about HGTV. I haven't gotten a response from that, but moreover, I do still feel like that there's other things that we can do to help to assist the residents at their level of need. And that's it on that in a nutshell.
Yeah, so there's still, we're still working to see what's happening with the family. You have some initiatives in place for the residents to take advantage of. And you said that they didn't take advantage of a couple of the programs. Is it
Right.
too late now for them to do it? Was there like a time constraint, or is it something that they can still do?
No,
And there
no,
just need
no.
to be some education to get them to go ahead and do that.
They can still do it, right? I just know that there are some issues too with them being able to do it. Like I've heard a couple of residents that have a reverse mortgage on their home. They're
Oh,
not able to go that route, right? To utilize those services, even though they're in the home, technically they're not really the owner of the home anymore, right?
right, right, right,
So
right.
then it becomes a non-owner occupied dwelling, in essence, and they don't qualify for that. The other thing that the city was trying to do or is trying to do is they were trying to secure a TD bank grant in which that they wanted that to target helping individuals that have been impacted in their non-occupied dwelling home. So basically, landlords and stuff like that that want to receive some assistance in getting their home repaired back to the level that it was prior to the explosion. So there are some opportunities there as well, and so forth. But I'm hopeful that potentially we could work together to try to come together as a body to help resolve our community concerns in
Yeah,
regards to the explosion.
yeah.
But I
So
do think that there's more that we can do.
Yeah, so that's one of the things when you were talking about, this mixed use, having business. A lot of the communities have older residents that are already retired. They're not about to go to
Right.
work nowhere. They're kind of set in their ways and where it is they're
Hmm.
going to shop. People, about 15 years ago, people were being sold this whole idea of a reverse mortgage. You could stay in
Right.
your house forever without paying no bills and take some money out, blah, blah, blah. And then what they don't know, like every month they're adding interest to it.
Correct.
So even if you took out like $60,000 or something. Right now, you probably owe about 120, 130, even though they
Correct.
said so it's something that's problematic. And then what happens if the person passes, the family got to figure out in about a year and a half, how you gonna pay this number off. And if you can't pay it, then the house is gone. So
Correct.
they sold it as a good idea, and then it turns out to not be a good idea, particularly those who probably took out full values of their property. Because at
Yes.
some point, some of these houses was worth like $500,000, and people might have took that money out and where's that now,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Where's
Correct.
that now, right? So Miss Graves is saying how reverse mortgages are horrible, and it did take advantage of a lot of seniors, and there's definitely some legitimacy
Yes.
and some facts that's in that statement, and that's why,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Those are predatory practices that's geared to our vulnerable population, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
And it's geared to our low income residents who may not have that financial literacy that they need to make informed decisions, that will be in their best interest. So that's something too that I have on my list to talk about different programs and initiatives that I have in mind for our community, as they have provided me feedback as far as what they want. As a government entity, we are responsible for not only making sure that our budget is balanced, but providing recreational opportunities, initiatives, and programs for our residents' benefit to improve their quality of life. There's several opportunities where that is concerned, right?
mhm.
Currently, um, what we have coming up with our Parks and Recs department, we actually had to kind of advocate for. So on the 30th of March, we're going to have our first Easter egg hunt. They also have a spring break flag football camp and clinic that's coming, I believe, this Saturday. With our after school program, they have tennis camp that's available to our after schoolers free of charge. And it also has an opportunity for those that do not participate in our after camp program to also receive lessons in tennis free of charge. They just had a DJ boot camp that concluded. I believe it was about an 8-week program where they learned how to DJ and use the turntables and everything. So that was fun. In addition, we have our senior program initiatives where we provide recreation and fellowship and things for our seniors to do throughout the day and so forth. There's a little opportunities that I'm hearing with our senior program in regards to not being provided hot meals on a daily basis, or not really having or allocating the appropriate funding for outing and recreational activities and so forth. So I'm definitely trying to look into that. But these concerns that I bring up before the day is are being kind of impeded upon by my colleagues, by our city manager, and so forth. It's hard to get things done when you don't have like-minded individuals. That's something that you alluded to. So the majority opposes basically all of the things that I proffer up that the community is indicating to me as a representative that they want. So there's nothing really that I can do but put it on the table, right? I have to put it on the table. I have to advocate for it, but to the best of my ability, and try to persuade my colleagues to see the value in what I'm trying to proffer up. So sometimes that could be challenging, right? So with that, I know that there are some challenges where residents want to see us bring back baseball recreation in our community. As a minority community, we have to unlearn and relearn that there's not just two sports out there for our children to be channeled into as far as basketball and football, right? There's other genres of sports that could be as lucrative or more lucrative.
More lucrative, because baseball got that, they have that guaranteed money. Them contracts are long.
Exactly. So we need to kind of, expose our kids to an array of different opportunities out there to help to propel them to be their best self, right? So the residents want baseball to come back. They want football. They want basketball, of course, soccer, taekwondo, karate classes. I know that we have a partnership with BSO PAL program in Lake Forest where they do boxing.
Is it a boxing or wrestling or
it's
something?
Boxing, like correct. It's boxing. Okay, it is boxing. So they do have that, but we have to be open to creating, like I said, these opportunities. Also, we have to create educational opportunities for coding and technology initiatives. We have a computer lab at Mary Sanders Park, and we also have our Carver Ranches Branch Library right here between Pembroke Road and 18th Street and 48th Avenue. And we can utilize that too as a place, a hub to be able to provide opportunities for learning, such as
tell me about the various sports that you are trying to bring back to the city.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a facility that will be able to facilitate all of these different sports taking place at any given time?
Yes, of course. So primarily we have two main parks, right? One of them is Mid-Tier Park, which is one of our bigger facilities where the city primarily hosts the majority of their initiatives at that park, right? But then we have a park called Mary Sanders Park. Most people call it Carver Ranches because before it was Mary Sanders, we just, call it Carver Ranches Park, which sits in the center of the community, right? So that's more of the hub where everybody goes and so forth. So at Mary Sanders Park, they have a baseball diamond. They have built out, are in the final stages of building out the football field that used to be there, conjoining it with the soccer field. That's actually where the tennis court is located. We have a large baseball court that's at Mary Sanders Park. At Mid-Tier Park, we have a football field that can be outfitted as football and soccer.
Soccer too, yeah.
Yeah, and then we also have a fenced-in basketball court that can be used. We also have a smaller park that's called Water Tower Park, and I do want to get into some safety concerns with that was just recently brought to my attention as well. But at that park is basically just a playground there, right? So there's really no opportunity for recreational sports there because it's just a smaller facility than the other two. So we definitely can do baseball. They're refitting the baseball diamond. Prior to me coming into office, there was a coach that was willing to offer his services. I believe his name was Coach Coleman, in which he did a program initiative in Opelika where they opened him, they welcomed him with open arms. But he wanted to do something here in West Park. So I would like for us to revisit seeing whether or not Mr. Coleman want to take the charge on, directing that particular program or, assisting in that way, because we definitely need community involvement.
Mm-hmm.
With the
Or
football,
he may know somebody if he's already committed to another city to do some
right,
work.
right.
He may know at least somebody that may be able to run
Right.
the program probably just as
Right.
effectively as he may have done that.
Yeah, so I know that they tried to restart the Saints football league, little league within the city. A few years ago, there was some issues with the program, so they stopped the program, and they are interested in restarting it. However, I know that there are some issues in regards to that. We have some community coaches that are basically doing a wonderful program with Washington Park Buccaneers, in which they want to offer that platform to West Park. So I'm hoping that we could partner with them to ensure, because right now all of our kids are going to Washington Park right now because we've been on hiatus so long with having recreational programs.
And Washington Park is with a neighboring city.
Yeah, with the city of Hollywood. So right there on
not Pembroke Park.
Not Pembroke Park. No, it's with Hollywood. Look at them. You trying to be
I'm just asking because Pembroke Park be on the news.
We recently had a basketball clinic that they ran for almost a year, that was offered to our camp participants and so forth. So I would like to see that happen more on a year-round basis, to have, our kids participate in basketball. Soccer, of course, currently they're using a vendor with I-9 Sports, right?
Yeah. My son did I-9.
Right, but it's a little pricey, right, for the demographics of this area.
And they're not. It's not competitive. You know what
Correct.
I mean? It's all about fun. You know what I mean?
Right,
and after
right.
you develop a certain level of skill, I'm no diss to I-9, but you can't stay in that particular program because it's more focused on fun than actually really being a competitive type sport. Because
correct.
So, yeah. And then everybody get a trophy.
Right. Everybody is a winner, right?
Everybody's a winner.
So we also used to have a program that was called Taekwondo, right? Mm-hmm. It was with Eddie's United Martial Arts Academy. My daughter actually went through that program for, I want to say, about 13 years. She was with that organization at the city. And then when the pandemic hit, they kind of had to shut down, but I would like to see that reinstituted, right? Mm-hmm. Because it builds character, it teaches self-defense, and so forth like that. And these are excellent exposure programs and initiatives for our youth.
Yeah, and it also, especially when you talk about the martial arts, it really helps people manage their emotions, right? Correct. And it also helps them harness their strengths, because once you have one of those skills, and you could like mess somebody up with your bare hands, right?
Right.
So you really learn to control yourself because you won't resort to your force.
Correct.
In order for you to resolve something, right? So it has a lot of benefits, particularly to students, to children who maybe are in communities where they're like overstimulated by all of the things that's going on. It's a good way to kind of help them, harness that energy and really learn how to say, okay, there are times and places where I can, I'll be able to respond in a particular way. So it's a very the discipline part of it is really good. Any form of martial arts is a very
right. Absolutely. And I would like for us to also venture into, like I said, coding and technology, also providing opportunities for potential apprenticeships, internships, on the job training, youth employment opportunities, highlighting specific trades that they may be wanting to go into, for like entrepreneurship courses for our kids and so forth. And we have to ensure that we're touching everybody in which we're supposed to serve. We can't just focus all on the youth 13 and under and forget about those 13 through 18.
That's a challenging age. I have teenagers now, and I'm like, who are these people?
Right. So they need guidance too. I
They
remember growing
do.
up in Carver Ranches, and we had all sorts of programs with the county to
Right.
keep us engaged and so forth. So you have to, have learning enrichment opportunities for our kids, right? The other
Absolutely,
thing
because
is
for one thing, and it must be a teenage thing where they think their parents don't know anything, so they do need to be around trusted adults that may be telling them the same thing that the parents are saying, but they're not
correct,
listening because they're like, parents don't know anything, right? Because every
correct.
now and then, my son says some stuff to me, and I'm like, bruh, do you know how smart I am? I have to be like, remind him, and he
Yes,
still be like, but Google said, or with something ridiculous, and what I find to be extremely disrespectful. So
right.
it must just be a teenage thing. So I think it's very important that they do have trusted adults that are
Correct,
in their
correct.
lives that offering some different type of guidance because they don't always want to hear it from a parent.
Correct,
So
correct. And we have to provide those outlets, right?
yes,
In various forms, because as I indicated, we are also responsible for providing recreation and helping to improve our residents' quality of life. So I think that there's a population that is not serviced as much, which is our adolescents and our young adults, and even, some adults need services as well,
right,
right?
absolutely.
So my thing is that we have to create opportunities to help our residents be employable, right? Employability skills, partnering with people such as Career Source Broward. Currently, I know that we have a partnership with Broward College, but that everybody is not college ready, right? Which they do other initiatives, trade initiatives. I think the last thing that I knew that they offered was they did a free trucking course.
Mm-hmm.
So if people wanted to get their CDLs, they could go to Broward College and get that, and that was going to be free of charge for residents in specific zip codes, in which the city of West Park falls under the 33023 zip code that would qualify for those different programs and initiatives with the Broward
Yeah.
Up initiatives.
Yeah, because I know that's what I was gonna say. That is through Broward Up, and I know another part of what they do is that they bring coursework into the community. So
Correct.
there are some people who have transportation issues and can't necessarily travel to
Mhm.
South Central or North Campus in order for them to take courses. So Broward Up really they rent space in
Right.
communities and provide courses in those communities. So
Mhm.
yeah, so Broward is definitely trying to do some things and
Correct.
hopefully they'll do
Kudos to
something beneficial for
Broward
the community.
College
Shout
for
out to
taking on
Broward
that challenge,
College. I
right?
would say shout
Exactly.
out to them.
So I think that we can also provide financial literacy workshops like we touched on earlier.
Mhm.
People need to be educated as far as life insurance, health insurance options, estate planning, developing a will and last testament and a advance directive and all those things to help them navigate this thing that we call life, right?
Right. So
Um,
let's stop on that because I absolutely hear what you're saying, right?
uh-huh.
But it's one of those things that that's not only for me. I don't think it's only a financial literacy conversation. You
Uh-huh.
really have to do a shift in a mentality thing, right?
Right.
Because some of these folks be like, the minute I let them kids know I got a insurance policy, they probably go murder me or something like that,
Right.
right? Or you write some like these are like legitimate
Yeah,
concerns
yeah.
because before I went to law school, I used to be I was a social worker, but I was actually a guardian of people
Mhm.
like older folks, right? So I used to make like decisions for their financial decisions, their health decisions, all time. They had their rights stripped away, and I was the one that
Right.
made decisions about their whole everything, right?
Mhm.
And I know, like before, some of them would lose their mind because I would catch them kind of right when it was starting to decline. And I'm telling you, man, they're like, yeah, I'm not letting them kids know I got no insurance because they're the ones that's like slowly poisoning my food
Oh
and trying to
yeah.
murder
Oh
me to
yeah.
take my house. So it's really a mentality thing, right? And it's like with the advanced directive and, like having a health surrogate, they're like, yeah, something might be wrong with me. And then the doctor could save me, but they're going to just let me die so they could just get
Right.
all the stuff
Right.
I have.
Right.
So it's more than just like, no, understand what the financial benefits of these
Mhm.
things are. You really got to retrain the mind of folks. Like, you
Correct.
can't think everybody trying to murder you for your house, right?
Mhm.
Which in some instances, it might be some people trying to murder them for their house.
Yes.
But what they need to know is like if they do that, they won't inherit. So we need
Correct.
to you know. So
Right, absolutely.
so we need to have, it needs to be a whole explanation to deal with that part of it. So like
Right.
that'll be incentive for the ones who think that they could kill grandma for a
Hmm.
house, to let them know if they're found responsible for killing grandma, they don't get to inherit, at least
Correct.
in the state. So so it is financial literacy, but it's a mentality shift that also
Correct,
needs to
correct,
happen
correct.
too.
But if you never have these conversations or you don't expose people to these ideals, right,
Mhm.
then you're never going to get a shift in mentality because they
Exactly.
haven't been exposed to anything but what their own thoughts lead them to believe, right?
Right, right, right,
So
right.
it is an education piece, but you have to be able to offer these things to your residents so that, you know, they can make better decisions along the way and they can save their generational wealth and they
Mhm.
are able to navigate through this system called life and have a better quality of life because they have learned a different way of thinking, right?
Right.
So we have to be the ones to help to facilitate that.
Yeah, and
So
I
I,
want to say one other thing about the insurance policy too, right?
mhm,
Because some people also have like very, especially in communities of color, they have very distrusting relationships with insurance companies. Because
mhm,
I remember when they said, remember that insurance? I don't know how old you are, but there used to be this insurance company called Gulf Life. Do you remember Gulf Life? They used to have agents. They used to come to people's
and
houses
knock
like
on your door.
every month and
Mhm,
collect the premiums, right? And
yes.
I remember my parents having one of those policies. The
Mhm.
insurance agent ended up like he was coming to the house collecting money, but he was not paying
Turning
premiums,
it
right?
right.
He was
Mhm,
not turning in the money. So there are a lot of people, you know, and I know like a huge segment of the Haitian population that was victimized by this
mhm,
individual, right? Like so
right.
people are not trusting. They're like, you know what? I could have probably put that money under my mattress and saved them
Mhm.
$10,000. You know what I mean? That I was gonna get in order for me to bury
To
someone,
bury,
right?
right,
So
right.
there's a lot of like you said education that we have to do because
Mhm,
there's some distrust in the community with some
mhm.
folks. But listen, let me tell you, go get that insurance because you don't want to have your family members putting up GoFundMe's on Facebook
Right.
to pay for your
Look,
funeral when all you had to do is pay $30 a month to even if it was a
exactly.
term life policy or a
Mhm.
whole policy, whatever. Do that so they don't have to, in the last moment trying to figure this out.
Absolutely, because we put insurance on everything else, but the one thing that's for certain in life is death.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have to ensure that too, because unless you have money just set aside to take care of your final affairs, you want to make sure that you have something in place that's going to help to assist you when your final days are around, and you need things taken care of. So, in
Absolutely.
addition to those things that I'm talking about, and also financial literacy includes education about reverse mortgages that we touched on earlier. First time home buyer programs, we definitely need that. Um, Upskill training, resume interview skills, partnering with alternative programs as far as trade with Sheridan and Atlanta Tech and so forth like that for in demand careers and opportunities.
And I like that, and I like, so when you said the interview thing, I have to smile, right? Because yeah, because I've seen people come to job interviews, right? I'm
Right.
like, I think the first thing they need to do is have like a dress code,
I
like that.
like it.
Like people always writing on a resume. No, I think you need to tell these people what professional attire is, right?
Correct.
In South Florida, we're a little different. We don't
Hmm.
necessarily dress like everybody else. I remember when, open toe sandals to court and stuff like that, because, we just different here.
Right.
However, there's still some things that you just should not do depending on
Hmm.
the job that you're going to apply for, right? Like it's just,
Right.
and again, and I don't, and I'm all about people's expressions and creativity and wanting to look and be who you are and all of those things.
Yes.
But what you don't want to have happen is like you walking in a room, like before you even open your mouth, all of these decisions are made about you solely on your appearance. And that's
Correct.
not even a race thing. That could just be anybody. They be
Correct.
like, she can't come work
First
here.
impression is always the best impression, right?
Yes.
And you want to lead with your best so that you can receive the best results in
Mhm.
return.
Yeah.
So it's something that definitely takes some training and coaching on. And I think that these are things that we can definitely do by partnering with other people that's already doing it, right?
Right.
You have people that provide etiquette courses and
Yeah.
all type of different things out here. Our sisters and our brothers out here, they doing their thing.
So,
So why
so
not?
on the etiquette, I'm gonna interrupt you one more time. So I'm happy you said that because my daughter my twins, they turned 15 over the
Yes.
weekend. My son is living his best life in New Zealand, but my
Oh,
daughter,
nice.
Yeah, so we had her birthday party here, and it was an etiquette party. So it was like,
Yes,
invited a whole bunch of kids, and Yvette DeBose, who's she has an etiquette training program
yes, I'm
curriculum and
aware of
everything
who
like
she
that.
is.
So
Yes.
yeah, so Dr. Yvette DeBose came and she did the etiquette training with the kids, and they really enjoyed it. And so they learned how to put their napkins, what to do with the forks, where to
Oh
put,
yeah,
placement and everything like that. So that is absolutely a skill that we all need to have. Because I was like, I know that's what you're supposed to do, right? Like as an adult, I didn't know some of these things. So
exactly. And
absolutely
it's true
important.
because a lot of times I watch Inside Out Academy
Uh-huh.
on social media and all of the pearls of wisdom that she gives. I also have Latoya Dean. She's a resident of ours that also do etiquette coaching and so forth. And
Mhm.
she goes to the schools and the churches and so forth. So I'm a firm believer that everything that we need, we have within our community walls,
Mhm.
right? You
Right.
have people that come from all different walks of life and have all different type of skill sets that we can lean upon and say, hey, why don't we partner together to bring this initiative forward to the city? So those are some of the ideas that I think that we need to progressively move forward into. We are a city that has been established for 18 years now. Okay, we're out of the infancy phase of things, and we need to step up our level of commitment to our residents, right? The other thing is that there's a lot of things that's being passed that there's not a lot of transparency on, right? And the transparency is being impeded on several different facets within our government structure, from our city manager to some of the majority people that's on the dais that I serve with, not basically being open-minded to change and new ideas and new ideals, in which our residents, like I always tell them, are at the head of our government. We should totally be listening to what they need, what they want, and what they desire in their community, because after all, they're funding the majority of everything, right? So our taxes are funding everything. So we have to be cognizant of what our residents want, and they need to enjoy where they live. They need to have some enjoyment about where they live and be happy about the space in which they're living. Okay, so my thing is that there's a couple different things that's coming up for the commission to consider. I don't know if you heard of the Live Local Act.
No, tell us about it.
Okay, so the Live Local Act is basically an act that was passed by the state to help our affordability crisis, right? Our home affordability crisis, right?
Mhm.
Where they are incentivizing developers to create affordable housing, and they get incentivized per unit of housing that they provide that is supposed to be affordable, right?
So
But what
I've heard of these things, but I don't understand like why you giving the incentive to the developer. Like I
Right.
don't that don't I don't understand that. They
Yes,
already
so
making money. Like what you finna get them more money on top of the money they already
correct. Even
make.
right.
And mind you, the developers like they don't once they've built the place.
Mhm.
Most of the time, they're not the same person who cares about whether it's rented or whoever.
Mhm.
Because I
Right.
think it's the builders that end up getting them. Once it's built, it's their business. They don't care if it stays and ends up being a monstrosity in your community or
Mhm.
something that doesn't get occupied. So why are they getting incentives?
Right. But not only that, this Live Local Act preempts local governance. So say for instance, if there was zoning requirements that we had at a city level that prohibits a particular density of where somebody can build in a particular zoning area and so forth, this bill allows that to be circumvented. So if a
Mhm.
developer comes in and they invoke the Live Local Act, say for instance, you may have a density of you don't want more than a 10-story building. If they want to go 2025 and the neighboring city allows for a zoning for a 2025 building, then they're able to invoke that and utilize that and circumvent whatever zoning requirements that your city limit has, right?
Yeah.
So there's concern there where I've asked for us to have a workshop so that we can educate not only our constituency, but our businesses and so forth to understand what are going to be the unintended consequences of this act, like you were saying, right?
And they're only going to target certain communities to do that. And
Correct.
let me tell you, I listen where I live. when I first moved into this neighborhood, probably like 20 something years ago, they were trying to build a Walmart on a particular street. Okay. That
Mm-hmm.
Walmart was never built. Like when I tell you it was never built. They never built their Walmart at that location. Now
Mm-hmm.
they ended up building some other cool stuff over there. But that from the time they were like them people, Walmart, they were like, heck no, the traffic,
Right.
all this stuff. That Walmart was never ever built. So they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna try these things in communities where they think there's no voice, right? And there's not
Right.
gonna be a lot of pushback, and people aren't gonna come to the meeting because they
Correct.
notice it. They notice the meetings, but they notice them in places where people probably ain't gonna look or
Correct.
whatever,
That's
right?
absolutely true.
When I tell you they never built that Walmart, is all I'm gonna say. But
Mm-hmm.
in other communities, they're gonna go build 25-story buildings, you know,
Because they
and
don't
mess with
have any adverse community reaction. And part of
exactly.
the reason why they're not getting the adverse community reaction is because the transparency of it is impeded. Like right now, concern with my community is whenever we have a public notice meeting, our city manager tells me, "Oh, we notice it in the Sun Sentinel." Who reads the Sun
Let me tell you
Sentinel?
something. I don't read the Sun Sentinel because the Sun Sentinel want me to pay them $1 or something to read their articles. You understand? And
No
it's not
dig,
like
no dig at the Sun Sentinel. I got to put
no
that
day.
disclaimer
And
out
it's
there.
not like I
But
don't have $1. I just don't think I should have to pay them to be, like, why you
right,
doing this? I
so
have not read a Sun Sentinel article in years, and I've actually been in the Sun Sentinel, and I haven't read
correct,
an article.
correct.
Someone had
So
to send it to
there's
me, you
not a
know?
paper print, right? And it's only digital. So then now you're excluding people who are not technology literate, right?
Savvy, right, right.
Are computer savvy or know how to navigate those systems, right?
I guess
So
I
you
should
have
pay
to
them their
have,
dollar, right? Because I want
yeah,
people to be like, just pay them people their dollar.
you have to have several modes of communication if you really want to engage the community, right?
Mhm.
If you really want their input, you're going to go outside of the box to ensure that you're inclusive, right?
Make an
You're
announcement on the radio, put it on
correct,
social
correct.
media. Facebook ads are very cheap. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Like, yeah.
So it wasn't upon my advocacy in 2018 that they created a Facebook page. They just really upgraded the website, which was antiquated and it still needs some improvement, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So we just initiated text blasts and emails alerts and all that stuff in 2018 as well. So prior to then, the only way that they would find out is if perhaps it was put on the city website, or if perhaps it was printed in our city newspaper, in which our city newspaper don't come to your homes. There's not a courier that delivers the news. You have to go to these specific depot locations, right, to go
Mhm.
pick one up. Which that's another impediment to transparency because
Yeah.
how many people are going to think to stop in at a place that they don't normally patronize just to get the newspaper,
Right, right,
right?
right.
You
And
have to make it you
yeah,
have to make it easily accessible, right?
if you
So
really want folks to know.
you right, you really don't want people to know,
Yeah.
right? So that's one of the things that challenges and opportunities that I'm faced with the colleagues that I'm currently working with. You know, these should be common sense, simple fixes. The same thing that I'm hearing from residents, you should be hearing the same thing that I'm hearing. So when we come to the table to make these decisions that impact our community, it should be an easy vote of confidence
Yeah.
because we are there to do the work of the people.
Yep.
So, the certain information that I also request as a commissioner, I don't get it, right? I don't get it. And so then when it's time to respond to the residents and I don't have the information, it's like, that's a bad look for me as an elected official. So these are some of the challenges that I have and I face, right? They also removed the for good of the order in the comment section of the city agenda. So we're not allowed to address public comments as people come and, they give us our concerns. They want responses from their elected body. They're not getting that, right? So that is another layer of impeding transparency
Mhm.
and disengaging the residents. Because if I
Yeah.
take time out to come to where you're having a public meeting and I'm addressing a concern that I have, I don't want to be directed to staff. I want you as my elected official to be accountable to me. So it also impedes accountability because the lack of transparency impedes accountability. So they've done that within the last couple of months. Um, my fellow colleagues, the majority of them, which is Mayor Felicia Bronson, I'm a name, Commissioner Marvin Price, and Vice Mayor Brandon Smith, they always vote against what I feel will be the right thing to do. Also, at our last commissioners meeting that was at the first of this month, I had advocated for a Muslim Heritage Month proclamation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Typically, I explained to you guys that I've been a year as a commissioner and I've been a community advocate for 7 years. Okay. In those 7 years, I attended all of the commissioners' meetings. So I have a good insight on what transpires at commissioners' meeting. Because if you've attended 7 years of meetings and you never miss one, you should know what goes on at a meeting.
You should.
So in the whole time that I've been participating in our local governance, they've never had a proclamation proffered up as a future agenda item, right? Even as I've been sitting on the commission for the last year, we've awarded proclamations, accommodations, all sorts of different things that never was proffered up as a future agenda item. Okay. But on the last meeting, the city manager indicated that I needed to present that as a future agenda item. Now, all of our future agenda items are voted upon. So if the majority don't vote for it to be a future agenda item, then that dies. It doesn't go anywhere, right? Now, having something added as a future agenda item only means that it's under consideration for discussion. It's not a resolution being brought back. It's just putting that item on the agenda for discussion with your colleagues. And mind you, due to sunshine, that's the only opportunity that you get to have a conversation with your fellow colleagues.
Yeah.
Right? So any future agenda item that any of the colleagues prop up should be something that you would want to hear and consider, because we are there to advocate for the residents. So you should want to hear what it is that the residents want, our community want, or whatever, and try to figure out a common ground and a commonality to why we should move forward in that direction. Anyhow, that particular future agenda item was voted against. So needless to say, that organization that wanted a proclamation request for Muslim Heritage Month won't be getting it from the city of West Park because we're not even having it upon consideration. And secondarily, it has never happened like that before. All of our other proclamations and so forth have been done via email from an elected official to the city manager. So on record, I said, well, why is there a dichotomy as far as who gets to do what and how they get to do it? So I even said, look, we need to establish a uniform process. It shouldn't be where the majority commissioners get to do it one way. They get to send an email. And then the minority commissioners that's in the minority vote have to bring it before them for consideration. It shouldn't be like that. Mm-hmm. There should be uniformity in policies. Yeah. And then if there isn't a policy, then you don't get to arbitrarily decide how it's done. Because there already has been a precedent set of how it's been done. Right? So those are some of the challenges that I'm facing here. The other thing is a lot of the residents are concerned with BSO, which is our law enforcement.
Oh, okay, so you guys are contracted with BSO.
We're contracted.
Your cars say West Park, though, right?
Yeah, it says West Park, right? Okay. But it's BSO.
Okay, so West Park afford their own police department?
I don't think that it's the issue of affordability, right? Mm-hmm. I think that we can. I also think that we have an opportunity to seek RFQs for other municipalities that abut us for services as well. There could be a form of interlocal agreement. You could pay for services provided by Miramar, the town of Pembroke Park, Hollywood.
I've heard them do that with like fire rescue and something, but I don't know if I've heard it with law enforcement.
Yes, it can be done.
It can be done because I'm not saying that I know, but I do know that there's some cities that share like fire rescue and some of their emergency services, but I don't know if I remember hearing that they do that with law enforcement also. It's either the city has it or they contract with BSO.
Right. Well, just because you haven't heard it done before doesn't mean that it's not a valid option.
I didn't. Okay, yeah, makes
Right.
sense. Right.
So other municipalities may be able to afford what we cannot. So we have to look at unique ways to deal with our unique financial situation.
Mm-hmm.
So even like I said, if it's an issue of that we cannot afford our own police force, right? Then it's not necessarily mandated that we have to partner with BSO as far as our local community-based
So is it that
policing.
BSO? I mean, it's an election year, and Sheriff
Hmm.
Tony trying to, he's running and trying to win, and he has a lot of competition. Is there some issue you think with the services that BSO is providing to the city of West Park?
Yeah, we don't have autonomy over what happens or what BSO does, right? Because they're not an entity that is solely belonging to the city, right?
But don't they let you guys know who the officers are going to be that's going to be in the
No,
city?
no, not necessarily. The
Mm-hmm.
people who we really get an opportunity to know when there's a change of guard in regards to that is the lieutenant, the high ranking people. The
Mm-hmm.
lieutenant, the captain, those are the two that we are really informed when there's a change of guard in that regard. But as far as the influx and the turnover of individuals that come in and out of our community, no. I think I spoke about this before that District 1 has always been a training facility. They formally don't have like they're building a training facility, but this has been one of the districts where they may send some of their new officers to get trained, and then they get promoted out, to another area and so forth, which really makes it hard for community policing, because if you're not standing here staying with the organization in this district long enough to learn the community and learn the nuances of the community, and you're really not getting community policing.
Yeah.
Right? You really don't have the boots on the ground. Like, the main chief complaints of our residents is the speeding in the community, the donuts being done in the community, the racing up and down the street, the lack of BSO visibility, things of that nature. They don't feel safe overall. This has been a chief complaint for years now. And we've had BSO services since in the inception of our city in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been an issue for a long time. And not only that, since the town of Pembroke Park has their own police department, then we no longer share our BSO law enforcement contract. We used to share that contract.
Mm-hmm.
So now we are solely on our own as far as the BSO contract, and our contract has went up significantly, almost $3 million over what we paid last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the interesting thing about that is that the residents really didn't feel the impact of that increase this year. Not yet, because
Not yet.
some of the elected officials prior to my term elected to utilize over $3 million of our ARPA funding to kind of buffer the increase in cost for this year. But next year, we won't have that buffering. So I put out a request for our finance director to give us a prospectus as far as what we're going to be looking at for the next fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
My thing was, you never put all of your eggs in one basket in business. We're talking business 101 now. I'm not going to take away my negotiation apparatus, meaning even if I say to myself that I really want this person or this entity as a vendor, I'm still going to get estimates from other individuals to see whether or not I'm getting the best bang for my buck. And that will be a competitive edge to say, hey, I've solicited quotes from our neighboring cities that's willing to provide the same level of service that you're providing at the fraction of the cost. I really want to keep you as our vendor for law enforcement, but are you going to able to beat this quote that we got from a neighboring municipality?
Right.
We basically took that off the table because we never considered any other options. So to me, that allows this one entity
to charge you what they want.
Charge
you
what
they want, or send you what they want, because this is all you pay for.
Option.
Yeah.
You're not even considering another option. You're not even fake pumping like you considered another option either. So then that gives me full latitude to say, hey, I'm going to charge this, and you really don't have no option. You're going to have to take it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really going to be in an interesting position come this upcoming fiscal year, because I'm really interested to find out, how are we going to cover this increase of cost of our law enforcement, in which our residents are locked into for another 4 years, because it's a 5-year contract, right? And they go up 5% every year, and our residents aren't happy with the service. What are we going to do?
Who knows? So I'm going to, at this moment, I'm going to stop and tell, anybody that's on Instagram to please like and share, subscribe the page, because they cut us off at an hour. So Instagram is no, everybody else, everything else is gonna stay on, but Instagram is gonna shut down, which it already did, because they don't let it's because this was live on Instagram too, so it only goes for like an hour. So everybody that's watching, go ahead and like, share, subscribe to the page, tell your friends about it. We're trying to build, make sure you comment. Just like the page, make a comment, tell us how we're doing and everything like that. See, yep, Instagram is like, we're done.
Yes.
Instagram alerted me and said they're like, yo, I was up, girl. But yeah, so just definitely like, share, subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. You can watch the same video. We stream it on multiple platforms to give you different, because we want to make sure people see this, get the information. So check it. So check us out on IG. Check us out on YouTube. Of course, we're like on 3 different pages on Facebook. I did share it with some other pages. So we are really appreciate it. So I'm not cutting you off. I just wanted to get that.
I know
for IG. IG was like, you're done.
Right.
It said they disconnected my stream at an hour.
But you know what's interesting, Sandra? A lot of people don't realize that when we have capital improvement initiatives such as road improvement, infrastructure improvement, that adds to the value of your home too. Did you know that?
Yeah. Oh, no, I do know that. I know that.
Okay. So we recently had a complete street road improvement project on Southwest 20th Street, which was the complete street from about 38th Avenue all the way to 441. A lot of the residents are concerned with the quality of workmanship of that project. They instituted or installed some speed bumps that are speed tables. They were supposed to be speed tables, but now they're like speed humps, in which it's not an easy transition over the hump. Radius. Yeah, the radius of the driveways were not put in properly. Some driveways are missing radiuses. It's just not a good quality craftsmanship of a road. I even had a resident who, like I said, we have everything that we need in our community, who has been a road developer for over 30, 40 years. And he has given me extensive feedback on the issues that he see with the road that will cost us down the long run because it wasn't done properly, right?
And Department of Transportation is notorious for messing up their budgets. Like every single project they've ever taken on has gone over budget. I don't know if they do it on purpose,
I don't know, but we had an opportunity.
They still get paid. Because what are you gonna do? Leave the road messed up? And so, actually, this morning when I was taking my daughter to school, I think we had like a sinkhole in the road or something. It was like some big old, the street was kind of flooded. There was like this hole open up, and I'm like, what is going on here, right? And mind you, the federal government has passed the infrastructure bill, which they gave money to several states, and the governor of the great state of Florida has decided that he does not want to take the infrastructure money, right? Because they're politicizing these issues where, like, y'all roads messed up for a lot of them still flooding. Some people in Hollywood, when it rains, they can't leave their door. And if they can't get outside, they can't cross the street, what I'm saying? Because of the drainage systems that are all messed up. And these are things that we need to really, really think about when we're deciding on who it is that we're going to vote for. So I know you got a couple more points that you want to make, and I want you to go ahead and make your points, and we're going to talk a little bit about the elections that happened on yesterday.
So, all right. So the project for the 25th Street Road improvement was actually completed in June or July of 2023. However, currently, as today's date, like I said, we're missing radiuses on our driveways, and section of the roads are coming loose at the seam. Like you
can like it ain't complete to me.
Well, it don't sound like it's complete to me, but I don't understand why we are not holding those accountable that's responsible.
Mm-mm-mm.
In addition to that, I've had several concerns brought up about our Waste Pro contract, which is our solid waste and vendor and so forth,
Yeah.
in which at the last meeting I did question certain specifics of the contract, in which I still have not received the contract to review.
Is there
Um,
any alternatives to Waste Pro? Because I know a couple of because there's Waste Pro and there's Waste Pro or is Waste Management and a
there's
different one?
waste management. They also have other smaller entity companies. Like I think there's one called Sunshine. There's various different.
Because there's another city that I know, and I don't want to call no, I want to talk about the city because
Right.
I didn't get permission from the commissioner to talk about the city, but they also have like a contract with Waste Pro, and you know how like when they don't come when they're supposed to, particularly when they're
Yes.
in big development, so
Yes.
the garbage cans are full, so people
Hmm.
got to put the garbage like out, like on the side
Hmm.
of the garbage can because what you gonna do? Leave it in your house for who knows when they're coming to get it,
Right.
and when
Right.
they come, all they do is dump the container and they leave all the other garbage that's on the ground around it.
Hmm.
I'm like, y'all the one that came late. Like, what are you
Right.
doing? Or add another can. Like, so listen, Waste Pro, y'all need to do better, is all I'm gonna say. You need to do better.
Well, you kind of touched on that for me as well. So the last thing that I want to dwell into, because I want to absolutely address this in a public format. At the last commissioners meeting, I actually had one of our residents, longtime resident, Miss Carolyn Hardy, actually come for me about doing the town hall discussions that I've been doing in our community since January. So there has been accusations that I shouldn't basically be allowed to do my town halls outside the city limit in the town of Pembroke Park and so forth. They also questioned me being able to have these town halls in a church, right? Are outside the city limits. This resident alleged a sunshine violation because the mayor of the neighboring city was there and another commissioner. And there was also a commissioner in attendance listening to the residents' concern. So she's alleging that it's a sunshine violation, in which prior to me doing my initial town hall, I brought it to the entire commission for us to collectively do a town hall, in which the majority again opted out of that option. So I asked the attorney at that time, does anything preclude me being able to do one myself? Because
You
I
mean when you
still,
ask the attorney, you mean the city attorney,
the city
the West
attorney,
Park's attorney, whether
correct.
or not you can do that.
Right. And she said yes. And I also asked her whether other commissioners could be in attendance. She said yes, they could be in attendance because you guys are not directly meeting with each other to discuss anything that's coming up on the dais. So that would constitute a sunshine violation if we're meeting in secret and discussing what's coming up to be voted upon on the dais.
Mm-hmm.
If her and I was to meet individually one-on-one, not if she was in attendance at a town hall that she's not actively participating in. So this resident alleged that we were also campaigning at the church. I mean, just all type of outlandish things. And these are one of the individuals that are helping to disseminate misinformation, right? So I just want to clarify that Touchstone town halls are within my legal right as the elected official to reach out to my constituency and have a conversation with my constituency. The church that allowed me to host the town hall meeting, which was so gracious of the town Pembroke Park Church of Christ, they allowed me the opportunity to use one of their meeting rooms to have the meeting. And I feel like they were maliciously attacked, and because it was questioned whether or not they were in violation of their non-for-profit, um, their non-for-profit 5013C, because they allowed me to come there to their facility and we were doing campaigning. Now, I would just like to clarify that this Pembroke Park Church of Christ was also a polling site, right? So if a nonprofit organization couldn't participate in anything political, then a lot of these churches around here, and we have 66 of them, will be be losing their 501c3 status because you have elected officials coming to speak and talk about
All
their
the time.
candidacy all the
Campaign season,
time.
that's the only time you see
Right.
most of them.
Correct.
Half of them, that's the only time you see them is like when they trying to get elected. That's when all them folks go to the black churches because they think that's the only place black people go.
Correct.
You know, they
Correct.
can talk to them and ask them for their vote. What
Correct.
they talking
So
about?
the only thing that churches are not supposed to do is endorsement of a specific candidate.
Mm-hmm.
But you can definitely hold community forums because these churches,
Florida does it all the time. They have candidate forums all the time. So I don't know. I don't understand.
right? But then we just had a candidate forum when we were running for office with Faith
It's
Florida.
Faith in
Faith in
Florida.
Florida
Yeah,
has
they do it
one
all the
right
time.
here down the street at Central Missionary Baptist Church.
Yeah.
So I just want, residents to understand what other people's motives are, right? When they are coming and maliciously attacking what I am doing that's different than what others have done in the past, right? I am not elected to uphold the status quo, right? People elected me to help to bring about the changes that they desire in their community. So I just wanted to clarify that this person, Miss Carolyn Hardy, is disseminating malicious and false information and false narratives. People definitely need to do their homework. And I just want it to be known that whatever comes my way is not going to impede me from doing what the people have elected me to do.
All right. All right. So talking about the people, there's some people that got elected yesterday. Are you familiar with, so we have, unfortunately, Catherine Menace didn't win her seat in District 2 in the city of Pembroke Pines. I mean, it was a tough race. I know she put in a lot of work into that race. However, she had she was running against an incumbent. There was a lot of name recognition on in that piece, so it was really tough. However, and she was endorsed by the Sun Sentinel, I think Sierra Club, I don't know if Sierra Club did it, but the Realtors and a few other prominent organizations had endorsed her. But again, when you're running against an incumbent, it's tough, right? It's
right,
tough. So
right.
She didn't get her seat. But the other two people that were endorsed in the city by Sun Sentinel, Angelo Castillo beat Iris Sipple, and he'll be the new mayor. He'll be the new mayor of the city of Pines, and Maria Rodriguez, a very young lady, young person, came in and won her seat by like 53 votes. So when y'all sit around talking about, every vote don't count.
Every vote do. Every vote definitely counts. And I am aware of that race. Those are some significant changes that are on the horizon for Pembroke Pines. I actually was able to go and congratulate Angelo Castillo on his election on last night. I did go to the watch party. Also, I understand that Maria was running against Glenn Theobald, in which he was a good candidate as well. And it's one of those things, too, where when you have a lot of people in the race, right? A lot of people can take away votes from people that may be duly qualified to get elected, right? So elections is a number game. I also heard you say something about endorsements, right? Endorsements are good, but they are opinions of other people, right? And I believe that people should do their own homework, come up with their own conclusions to see who ideals and ideals and all of that resonate with what they hold valuable to them, right? Their core values should mirror one another, and the objective when people are going out for offices should also resonate with the majority as well. So I kind of shy away from endorsements because sometimes endorsements could help you and endorsements can also hurt you.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I do agree.
The main priority is getting out there and getting your message to the people, right? And ensuring that your message goes over well with the people who you're trying to serve. So it's definitely about messaging. It's definitely about numbers, getting out to people and sharing your message and having them share it with others and having the message that you have resonate with people.
Yeah, there was a couple other cities. I think Hillsborough Beach and something. Hillsborough Beach, I think it's called. Had elections, and I mean, them people, those folks won their seats. The person that won the seat, it's Hillsborough Beach, right? That
Mm-hmm.
the person who won the at-large commission seat won with 447 votes. So
Yeah.
that means depending on how many Facebook friends you have, if they're allowed to vote and they live in your town, you can win. I mean, they won the seat with 447 votes. Only 1,100, like 1,150 people went and vote in that town, and that person won with 1,100 seats. And then there was Lauderdale by the Sea had their
Yeah.
they had a mayor. Their vote was for mayor. The person that won the mayorship is someone named Edmund Malcoon, and that person won with 765 votes.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly, I have 1,200 friends on Facebook.
So, child, you can win the election now.
I gotta sound like I can win an election.
Yes. Well, that's not just like, okay, let me just tell you, the town of Pembroke Park, they won the election by 200 and something vote last election.
Some votes. I mean, this is something else. And Lauderdale by the Sea also had a commission seat. I mean, so that John Graziano, he won with 1,000 votes. I mean, these numbers are small. I mean, these are so
Mm-hmm.
and it is an odd. It's not the general election, so a
Right.
lot of times people don't know about elections that happen in March. These are very low numbers. Like
Correct.
the turnout
Correct.
is very
Correct.
low. People are winning seats with very small amounts of votes.
But
And
remember,
they had a good turnout. There was like 15,000
Yeah.
people went out and voted for the mayor race in Pembroke Park. So the people in Pembroke Pines, they actually showed out because the 15,000 people voted. That's a pretty good number when you're talking about a 1,000.
when you look at that though, all of those 15,000 didn't vote down the ballot because for
because Pembroke Pines has districts, so they couldn't necessarily. Everybody could have voted for the mayor, but they couldn't all vote for the commissioner.
got
they
you.
actually have districts, whereas
That's
in
true.
Miramar we don't. Like in Miramar, you just
Yes,
vote
it's
for
that large.
anybody.
That's like that in the city of West Park too.
Right.
Okay.
So
Because
in
I
Pembroke
was looking
Pines,
at that and I was wondering, I was like, well, wow. Okay.
so they're broken into districts, and some people think that's better, and others don't want it. I know,
Mhm.
like there was a candidate that I spoke to a couple of years because Miramar has their elections in the odd years. So we have our
Yes.
March of the odd years, and so we had elections last year, and there was one candidate. He was like, "We should have district like Pines because if we had districts like Pines, it would have probably increased his chances of winning, right?
Right.
Because Miramar is like Wakanda, right? Like
Yes. I love Miramar.
Miramar is low key Wakanda, and
Yes.
probably as long as it doesn't have districts, it may stay that way.
Right.
I'm not saying that somebody else can't win, but they're gonna have it's gonna be a tough road.
Oh yeah,
right?
oh yeah,
It's gonna be a tough
definitely.
road for that to shift just because of the sheer numbers of the city. But because
Absolutely.
district and Pines, that's why when you look at the numbers, you'll see that everybody there vote in all of the different elections.
But you know what? A lot of people don't understand that every election has consequences.
It does.
And most people, they wait until the big presidential election or the governor election and so forth, and they don't realize that it's the local elections that impact you the most.
Mhm.
You know, it's your city, right? Your county, then your state.
Yep.
So you have to really pay attention to who you're electing on a local level because they significantly impact your quality of life. Like some of the things that I was saying and initiatives we need in our community. That comes under the purview of your local municipality.
Yeah. There's those streets and the roads. Like some of that money has to come from the federal government. It has to go to the governor. But
Right.
ultimately, when it gets to your city has to. They decide like which street they're gonna focus on fixing. You know what I mean?
Correct. Absolutely.
Decision. And if you have people that's advocating for your community to be better, then you'll get it. But if you have folks who don't care,
Mm-hmm. Right. Then you won't get
kind of things that don't change your life.
Yes. And what I learned too as elected official, there's other little or not little, but committees like with the Broward League of Cities that's important to kind of be at the table. What they call the MOP board about mobility and infrastructure and transportation and all of that stuff with the county. Those are essential boards to be on too. Waste management, there's an elected official from most municipality that sits on a governing board for that as well. So, there's so many different.
What is it, like salt and water or something? There's one. What is that called? It's something something in water. That it's not a paid
Water quality.
yeah, it's one of those things. I know both Simon ran for that. That water, soil and water. Is that what it's called? Like
Yeah, soil and water conservation.
yeah, soil and water. Those are they're elected officials too. They're not paid,
Yeah,
but they have an impact and they have influence on
correct.
what's going on in the areas, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are a city that utilize the county water system. We don't have our own water plant like, neighboring cities and so forth. So we definitely depend heavily on vendors and the county and contracting and so forth.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So listen, I see, you're on point. You're seeing all of the things that the city of West Park needs to do. And there, so you guys have elections, right? Are you guys in the
Oh, yeah.
primary or do you go straight to November? Or do the
We go
candidates
straight to
yeah,
November.
go straight to November? So I know
And I'm
Joy
glad
Smith
that
is
you're
trying to get
leaning
her
into
seat.
that.
So I know
I'm
Joy
sorry.
Smith is running to retain her seat.
Joy Smith is running to retain her seat, so we need to keep her in seat. She is community first minded. We also I'm also supporting candidate Christina Everard, who is running against one of the incumbents, Commissioner Marvin Price. So she's going to be running for seat 4, and she's also community first minded. It's very important that we select like-minded individuals that's willing to lend themselves to the will of the people, right? There's a lot of things, like I indicated before, that I've tried to do and I didn't have the majority. So I'm asking the folks of the city of West Park, give me somebody I could work with. If you find that I'm unable to work with people on the dais to get the work that you would like me to get done, then I'm asking for you to support the re-election of Commissioner Joy B. Smith and support the election of Christina Everard running for seat 4 in the city of West Park. Now, a little bit about Christina Everard. She's ran twice before. And if you know a little bit of my story, I had to run 3 times too.
Yes.
So we're hoping and praying that the third time is the charm. We're hoping and praying that the people of the community are tired of the same old, and not getting the action that they are, the action that they deserve.
They should have, yeah.
Right. And the representation that they should deserve. Like currently on the dais, myself and Joy are the only ones that really ask questions, proffer up future agenda items, have dialogue. I want to engage in dialogue with our vendors or potential vendors for questions and so forth that we may have, and so forth. So, I mean, you really don't know what you're getting if people don't have conversation and let you know what they're all about.
Exactly.
So, particularly in addition to those other 2 incumbents that's running with Marvin Price and Commissioner Joy B. Smith, keep in mind, I'm supporting Christina Everard for seat number 4 against Marvin Price. But there's also another seat up for election this year, which is our mayor is up for re-election, which is Felicia Brunson. And a lot of people are not satisfied with how the explosion was handled. They're not satisfied with her lack of leadership, in other words, and so forth. And to be quite frank, I get calls on a daily basis asking me if I'm going to run for the mayor's seat, right? And I always emphatically tell them no, right? So I don't have a line of sight currently to run for the mayor's position. My position is to gain the majority so that the people could gain back the trust in elected leadership to do the right thing on their behalf. So with the majority, there's much that can be done. Currently, Marvin Price, Felicia Brunson, and Brandon Smith, they vote together. So anything that you see being done or you see are not being done is due to the majority. You get what I'm saying? So a lot of times when people ask me, why we not doing this? Why we not doing that? Well, it takes 3 to pass anything in the city. And it takes 3 to vote anything down in the city. So if you watch the meetings and you're checking up on your employees and seeing what they're doing and what they're not doing, it's going to be very clear who is working to put the community first and who is not.
All right. Okay. So she said Joy Smith, re-election, Christine Everard that's running against seat 4. I'm not getting in all that. I just provide the space for people to say what it is that they want to say. And thank you for the update, because we do need people who are really interested in doing the work and just in doing the work. So
Correct.
thank you so
Correct.
much for always coming back on the show. Thank you for coming
Not a
on
problem.
the show
Thank you
today.
so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so
I
much.
stated to you before it started. I said, "Now you're ready to get into some good trouble." So
Always good trouble is good trouble. Listen,
good trouble is good
that's how we
trouble.
move forward, is getting into
But you
some
know
good
what?
trouble.
What's so peculiar about that is that a lot of people, think that, oh, Touchstone, she's argumentative, she always bringing up different points. But look, you have to have somebody fighting for you on your team. That's what you elected me to do, to go in there and do the work that you have elected me to do. And if that means getting into good trouble, that don't mean that I'm a troublemaker. That means that I'm solution orientated and trying to find solutions. And sometimes we have to have a little back and forth with each other to get it right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. Truly
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
And we actually started the show, and I didn't even play the commercial or nothing like that, because
I
I was
know,
like, we got
because
things to
we like we
do.
got to get in it.
I was like, yo, we got things to do. We got stuff we need to
Yes,
talk
yes.
about. So that's what
Oh,
we
let
did.
me just drop this. I am accessible. I do have my community-led Facebook group page, the West Part Word of Mouth. There's a private platform and there's a public platform called West Part Word of Mouth. I always encourage individuals to also subscribe to the text, email, blast, and so forth that the city offers. You can go to www.cityofwestpart.org to sign up for text, blasts, and emails alerts. In addition to that, I'm always accessible. My email is ktouchstone, which is my last name, at cityofwestpart.org. Shoot me an email if you want to schedule an appointment with me to sit down with me for office hours. I also post all of my town halls. And I also send out emails and so forth concerning my town hall. So if you want to be added to the email list, shoot me an email for me to add you to the email listing. What else? My telephone number, my city cell phone number is 954.
Hold on, I want to do that. So your email is ktouchstone.
Yes, at city of westpark.org.
Mhm.
Okay. My city cell phone number, if you're ready for that.
Hold on, I need more toilet paper. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, cell phone.
954.
Hold on.
She's so cute.
Phone. Is 954
477
Mm-hmm.
9718.
All right. All right.
Want me
See,
to repeat it?
I know I got it. 954-477-9718. She gave you
Yeah.
her cell phone. She gave you the email address. She told you where to go sign up and get the alerts for what's happening in the city of West Park. I mean, this is
Also, the
for your
Facebook
elected
group,
officials.
stay engaged. Stay engaged. It's so important that you all
You
stay
gonna call at
engaged.
3 o'clock in the morning. It better be important.
Right, right. Listen, I get calls all throughout the day, all at my primary job and everything. So, really, when you become a servant, it kind of takes a toll on you being able to balance everything and so forth. But I want to leave residents and individuals with this. I would like to be the commissioner that you can trust to always keep the community first. So in doing so, I need to hear from you, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. That just helps us to grow and get better and consider what it is that you want at the forefront of everything. So don't be afraid to reach out to me, even if you see me walking down the street and you want to holler at me. You can always do so. I'm always approachable, accessible, and here to hear your concerns and try to mitigate the needs of the community.
All right. Thank you. That's how we're
You're
going to end
welcome.
this. Have a good one. I truly appreciate you coming. Thank you so much. All right.
You're welcome. Thank
Hopefully
you.
I'll see you guys tomorrow with
Yes, we're gonna
Elson.
talk that with Toy because that's my fellow rattler. That's my fellow rattler. He was my SGA president while at my tenure at Florida A&M University.
All right, so so if he comes on tomorrow, because if he's not busy, and he said he'd come on, but
Okay,
things happen. There's a lot going on, so if he's
that's
not busy,
true.
he come on
But I
tomorrow.
look forward to
I need
hearing what
y'all to
he
check
has
it
to
out.
say because
Yeah.
that's one thing we didn't touch on because I did go to a lot of those workshops on redefining our schools and so forth. So I'm really interested to hear his take on it and what direction he feels as though the board is going to take on their position with that.
Yeah.
So I was able to provide a lot of feedback at those workshops, and I'm very interested to hear, his take on things. So I hope that those are one of the questions that you're going to ask him.
Absolutely. And then the education department found that there was probable cause today, because he sent a letter and called for an investigation.
Yeah.
Certain things that were happening, and they found probable cause to launch an investigation. So
yes. He's definitely one of those one willing to get into good trouble.
Oh Lord. So Broward County.
So shout out, Corey. I'll be tuning in tomorrow to see you, bro.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. Have a great one.